Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage. We're working on the 39 Forgotten Hot Rod project again. And now that we've gotten a lot of, well, actually pretty much all the rust repair done in the car, we're ready to kind of finally make it a car and be on the home stretch of making it actually drivable. The one big thing that we need to tackle is wiring on the car. We basically ripped all the wiring out and there's just a little bit of remnants on the firewall, but we need to get rid of all that old crappy wiring and rewire it. Number one, because we're converting the car to 12 volt. Number two, because the wiring was crappy and was really poor. And number three, it's just nice to start fresh and have something that we know what's going on. So Mike and I are going to tag team this project and get these kind of set up. We're starting with a Speedway 12 circuit harness. It's actually totally overkill for this car because it has like almost no circuits that are needed to make the car run. But it has extra stuff, so whether we keep the car for a little while and upgrade it, or we sell it down the line, somebody wants to add something like AC or electric fans or different things like that. It's all there where you can bundle it up and keep it there so it's easy to add. So we're going to start laying the harness out and try and get some of this harness installed and show you how we're going to do it in today's video.
Expecting this hood to be way heavier.
Yeah. All right, so it came with this handy dandy layout, giving you all the wiring in here.
Yeah.
And we're going through and trying to decide what we need so we can bundle the stuff we don't need out of the way.
What is nice is all the wires are labeled and numbered, and they all match up with this handy dandy spreadsheet. So we're kind of going through and figuring out, like for the dash, there's like literally nothing we need.
Yeah, we're going to be trying to use mostly mechanical gauges to keep it kind of old school and simple. Yeah. We may upgrade a couple of things, but for the most part, we're not going to have real crazy blinky digital gauges or anything.
Headlight power?
Yes, we'll need headlights, I think.
Fuel gauge?
Yes. Fuel gauge.
Temps and none of that.
Mechanical. You get right signal indicator.
Those are indicators. You're not going to have a turn signal indicator, right?
It's going to be in the little stalk. We'll probably use one of those old school
That's
stalks.
all built into the stalk then. You give it power, and that's where the
Oh yeah, that one doesn't have a left or right. It just flashes. Never mind.
Yeah. Don't need park, don't need dimmer.
We need parking lights.
No,
Yeah, it's left front parking light.
that all goes to the headlight switch, I think, right? Yeah. So we need those. Don't need a high beam, temp senders, mechanical, dimmer power.
Well, we should run a high beam.
That's the indicator. High beam indicator. Dimmer power, brake switch power. Yep, we will definitely need a brake switch.
We should do the high beam indicator just in case. Run the wires because we may run it to the dash in case we use it.
No radio, no power antenna, AC. Are we gonna put AC in here, Matt?
No.
We're gonna add wiper power because we may do a conversion.
And we probably should run the radio wiring to the dash.
Well, technically all this is gonna be under the dash anyway, bundled up.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Spare wires. This is just stuff I'm gonna keep out the loom to run over to the cluster.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what 60. It says instrument panel.
It's probably just a power instrument panel, I would think, which we probably don't need.
And we can add a ground. So for ignition, ignition switch power, ignition switch coil. That's your switched ignition. We need all those. Horn switch we need.
Yep.
Left front signal. Left signal indicator. There's not going to be a hazard.
Yeah, well, it'll be built. Yeah, we'll have a hazard switch.
It'll be built into the turn signal stalk though, right?
But you need to run that. Yeah, it'll.
Actually, all these I'm just going to.
Because the hazard's going to run. Is that hazard running to the stalk or is that running to.
Well, it's probably thinking that you have a flasher module.
Which it should. It probably has one, yeah.
But I'm saying that's all going to be built into the turn signal switch, right?
You still need a flasher module.
Do you?
Yeah, it's separate.
Right.
You can
All this stuff I'm just gonna run to the column.
Okay.
That'll all just go to the column. That way I don't have to check all of that. Because like it has the turn signals and all that stuff, fuel gauge. Oh no, rear vehicle. We need all of this. That's all gonna get run. Now the front is, this is the one that's gonna get gutted pretty heavy too. Because we just need the turn signals. No fan, front park. Is there gonna be parking lights or no?
Yeah.
All right. Low beam, high beam, horn, no antenna. We'll need both of these. No oil sender. Coil will need no tack. Tack will be mechanical, right?
Run the tack wire because we may run a
Digital, that's right.
or a later
Yeah.
electronic.
Don't need the electronic choke. Don't need a temp. Do you want to run the temp sender?
No, we'll definitely run a mechanical temp set.
Ignition, start, solenoid power. All right, so the Speedway harness already comes separated out. Everything's already organized where it needs to go. We have our stuff that's going to the steering column, your like headlight switch, all that good stuff. We have the rear of the car here, which we're not taking anything out of, so that can stay zip tied together until we put it in the car. And then this is the engine bay. I'm going to take out a few of the wires that we don't need, coil them up, and we'll put them with the wires that are going under the dash. That way they're there if we ever need them in the future, or if we sell the car, it's up under the dash for the new owner if they want to add a radio or any of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to just pull out these couple wires from here, tape these up, that way when we put it in the car it's already separated out. It's a lot easier to do on a bench than trying to do it up under a dashboard. Alright, so I separated out these few wires that we're not going to be running to the front of the car, that we're not going to be using. One tip I have for you guys is, if you're going to be running wires in a loom like this that are pre-made, sometimes they don't all end up at the same spot in the bundle. So if you pick a common exit point where you're going to run all the wires out of so they run away, when you go to put a wire loom on this and tape it up, it'll bunch up a lot easier because everything's kind of flowing together instead of wires like coming up over top and through different spots. Pick one spot for all the wires to exit and it will bundle together nicely and it'll look a lot neater, make it look a little bit more professional.
All right, so while Mike's working on getting the wiring all loomed out and figure out where everything goes, I'm working on making the bracket that is going to hold the fuse box in place. We've decided to put the fuse box basically under where the battery tray is. We're gonna basically hang it like upside down so that it hangs under the battery tray area, which is behind the dash. And if you need to change the fuses, you can just lay underneath and access it and they'll be pointing right down at you. This fuse box uses like the mini, I think they're mini GM fuses or just mini fuses. And the back side of the fuse box has this little plastic base that has this little slide connector section. It was probably out of an original, modern car or whatever. But these basically, I think the way these are made, and the way I'm doing it, is that basically you drill a large hole that fits it through here on the back side. And this is just my sample piece. And then I drilled a smaller hole just down from that and you connect the two with a slot, and when you slide it in there, you can slide it across like that, and it basically locks it in. So gets it all locked in place. So if we make a base that allows you to slide it over and lock it in like that, should be all good, and it'll hang underneath. And we're gonna have the harness all connected, so it shouldn't really have much weight on it at all, just the actual weight of the fuse box itself. So once I figured out with my like little uni bit here which one I needed to go up to for each of those, and the spacing and everything on this test panel, we are ready to actually make our bracket. I'm gonna have standoff about 1 inch from the bottom there. So I have all my lines laid out here. I'm gonna drill these holes here and get our slots in it, and then we'll bend everything in the brake, and hopefully we'll have something that works.
So on this car, Matt believes they added an organizer from a later car. It's kind of on the, huh?
I think from maybe an earlier car.
Earlier car, later car, we're not really sure. It's not stock. So there's an organizer here on the driver's front firewall. There was no hole in the firewall, so I just drilled a hole. We're gonna run our headlight wiring and turn signals and all the stuff for the front of the car there, down through along the frame rail, and then we're gonna use like a watertight GM style connector from Eastwood, so that we can disconnect it, because the whole front end's bolted together, and Matt put in the riv nuts in the front of the car, so we can basically unbolt it with, I think it's 8 bolts, take the whole front end off, undo that connector, that way we can take it off, leave the headlights and everything wired, makes it a lot easier. So I'm gonna fish these through. Matt's finishing up the mount for the fuse box now. I'm gonna fish these through, and we can get started on that. Fish the engine wiring through this hole here, and we'll put a grommet on it. That'll be done, and I already have the stuff basically laid out to go to the back, and then we can start working on looming everything and making it nice. Alright, so I got all the wire run through the firewall for now. All this other mess under here is stuff that's going to be under dash, or stuff we're not using right now. 2 things I did that I kind of want to mention is I removed all the zip ties that they had on the part of the loom, because what happens is when you start routing stuff, if you actually take a zip tie, and then say if this is zip tied and we taped it against here, the zip ties aren't trimmed totally flush, and they get a little bit of a sharp or jagged edge. What happens then is if you tape this in, vibration of the car starts to rub. You actually just give yourself like the worst thing to troubleshoot ever, which is a broken wire and a wiring harness. So I like to tape everything up, and then once we're done, if we'd want to, we could go back, take the tape off, add zip ties, clean it all up. But for now, we'll just put the tape on so we don't have to worry about giving ourselves future headaches. And the second thing I like to do is, once I have the loom stretched out where I'm gonna run it, tape the end up. Because what happens is you start fishing it through the firewall, putting it on the floor, the wires start to ball up the ends, you have a giant rat's nest. This is a pretty simple harness, but on some bigger, like automotive modern car harnesses, you could have 150, 100 wires running somewhere, and it's just a giant, giant mess. So tape up the ends, tape up, cut the zip ties off, tape it up. That way you can run it wherever you'd like to, and we're rolling along. Matt's struggling to make a mount because he's struggling pretty bad. You done yet? No? Okay. So I got the wiring all run, just waiting for him to make a mount. We can finalize some stuff and start working on the plug for the headlights going to the front of the car. All right, so I trimmed the headlight harness off at the firewall, actually right in front of the firewall and the frame rail. I have this end, which is going to be attached to the sheet metal on the front, which is going to be detachable. I figured I'd do this over here. It's a little easier to show versus where I have to do the other section. So we have these wires here. We're going to put these cool, quick disconnect, watertight plugs on that are really kick-ass. So there's 6 wires here, so we're going to do a 4 and a 2. I'm going to put the plugs on themselves once it's at the car so I can make sure I have everything pinned in the right orientation so I don't have to undo it. Now with this kit, it comes with an assortment of plugs, different crimps for different size wire, has the watertight rubber fittings, has crimpers, 2 different sets of dies. It's a really nice kit. I'm actually looking forward to using this. I've never had a kit. I've kind of done it with not the right tools before, so we'll see how this works. I'm gonna go ahead and strip all these, crimp the connectors on, go over to the car, crimp the connectors there, and then we'll put the plugs together and see how it looks. All right, go ahead.
Even if you say no, I was
Thanks, boss.
What? I couldn't hear you over my drill sound.
Zzz.
Somebody will definitely call us out if this isn't the same.
All right, so I got the, what are they called, Matt? Weather
pack connectors.
So I have the weather pack connectors. I called them the wrong name, and Matt scolded me. So I have the connectors here. So I have them paired. The 2 and the 4 are pushed together. So I'm gonna do one at a time and make sure so you don't flip-flop the connector by accident. Speaking from experience, I may or may not have done that before. So I'm gonna look to see if we'll do the signal wires together. Front signal. So we have left front signal, left right signal. So these connectors just basically push in. There's nothing fancy you need to do. So we'll do light blue there, dark blue here, just like that. Clip in, nice and tight, and then on the back side, just flips over. And then over here, we will do dark blue, light blue. So right now we have everything just taped up. We didn't have any wire loom on hand. So once we get everything hooked up and run permanently, we will put it in a wire loom so it's all nice and neat. But here we go, we got our front turn signals done. Unclips, clips in, it's nice and tidy. So we'll do the other 4 and we're done for the firewall portion. There we go. So our firewall wiring for the headlights has got these nice connectors. So if we ever need to remove the front sheet metal, just 2 plugs on off to the races. So we will need a plug here and under here, but we'll get to that. Now we have everything routed. Get the fuse box mounted on the firewall, and we're good to go.
Ooh, that sounded not good.
Hey, watch the windshield crank.
Homeowner's insurance definitely does not cover that. Here's flat washers. And lock washers.
Have you sanitized your hands recently?
I don't know, my gloves have lots of brake clean on them.
Okay.
And fuel.
Good thing I just put that washer in my mouth. Not very smart, Michael.
All right, ready to clip that bad boy in there.
So this is our rear wires. It's the only thing that runs the back of the car. Off this side, everything else comes out here. So we'll give it a tight fit.
That's my retirement bracket.
Yeah, it took you.
I acted like it was my last day of work and I was retiring. I milked it for the whole night. It clipped in.
Yeah.
Does it seem sturdy?
Yeah.
Wow, don't move it too much.
So normally I'm the one screwing around all night while Matt works. It was the opposite. Matt screwed around all night while I worked. So we just gotta.
We can put our cover back on eventually.
Yep. And we just need a grommet for here and the other side of the firewall. That's everything going up front, and then all of this is what stays under the dash.
Wow. We gotta find a way to cleanly.
Now, this isn't being used, so we can tuck this up and hide this. But this is just the dash and ignition wiring.
Seems like a lot.
I'm sure we're not going to use some of it, but yeah.
Yeah, once we start routing like some up the steering column and some behind the dash,
Yeah.
it won't be bad.
Luckily, there's plenty of space up here to hide stuff.
Yeah. Sweet. It's a good start.
So,
You got a lot done. I made a bracket.
I mean, I wouldn't say I got a lot done. I put some wires some places. We haven't really hooked anything up, but Matt made a bracket.
This is a good example of when we usually skip over these parts of the project, and people always like say that we should have shot a video on it. I think this is probably boring to watch, but you guys seem to like the updates, and people are asking for more on all different types of wiring. So wiring is like a huge job. Takes a really long time, and not a lot seems to get done. So like we spent like a whole evening laying all the wires out. I made a stupid bracket. And
Well, do you want to explain why the bracket was such a pain in the neck?
yeah, so the bracket, I assumed the little bottom was going to be symmetrical, so I just like took the holes off of center and drilled them at the distance they're supposed to be, and then I'm like, why is this so crooked?
Nothing was centered.
Yeah, nothing was symmetrical on the little piece for whatever reason. So to try and make it even half straight took way more work than was necessary, and I've probably been out in the shop for like 14 hours today. So I was definitely at the end of my patience.
Yes.
But so it's cool that we got the wiring laid out. This is the first step. Obviously, we're not done yet, but we're trying to do what work we can do with what parts we have, with us kind of having limited resources and things being open right now. So this is a big step, and what we're going to work on next time is trying to get the actual ends terminated, get some stuff in the dash hooked up. My real goal for this is to get the car so we can turn a key, sit in it, even if it's on a milk crate, use the gas pedal, and drive it in and out, because right now I have too many cars that like sort of run, but they're a pain in the ass to get them to start. So even if I could sit on a milk crate and drive this in and out and do donuts, it would be really awesome.
Yeah. One thing I do want to mention with like separating items out makes it a lot easier to wire, because you can come out for an hour and hook up the taillights, that's done. Hook up the headlights, that's done.
Yeah.
So now we can like kind of get parts, because like we don't really have complete headlights right now. We kind of have a bunch of parts. So we can put that together, wire the headlights, that's done. So bundling wires like this kind of helps make it manageable instead of having to do a whole wiring harness.
Yeah.
You can just pick away at it as you have time.
Yeah, it'll be nice.
Yeah, definitely. It's not quite as easy as the Free T or the Sweetheart
No, it's like
Roadster
4
or
wires.
the Coupe.
Yeah, it's like 4 wires.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for watching this. Definitely, we appreciate you guys following all of our videos, especially these ones like this. And we're hoping to have this thing driving like this summer. We're just slowed down a little bit, but we'll keep picking away on it, and we will get it running and driving this summer for sure. Thanks, guys. Catch you later.